Hello, hello. Welcome to my channel. My name is Lynn and I'm going to make a notebook today, and this will be a thermal cinch project. I am going to do a couple of things a little bit different on this project to my previous thermal cinch notebook. So for one, I'm going to add a bookmark because I have not yet added a bookmark to one of these notebooks. So I wanted to try that out. I did not buy the We Are Makers bookmarks because you can get a set of bookmarks from We Are Makers, which is the company that makes the thermal cinch. And then second, what I'm going to do is I am going to actually do my spine a little bit differently because these covers are gorgeous. And normally I glue the spine on top of the cover and it has kind of that leather bound look to it, but I'm gonna do that a little bit differently so that none of that gorgeous cover is going to get hidden. And then also I am going to add a pocket to the inside front cover. So a couple of different things with this notebook that I haven't yet done with my thermal cinch notebook. So that's how this video is different from some of the other ones, but it will start the same because the way that I've come to do my binding is I'm going to, I don't know if there's an actual name for this, but I'm just going to call it, I'm going to do sort of a naked binding. So where I just bind my text block with some copy paper. So I've got my strip of glue here. This is what you need if you're going to do perfect binding or use your thermal cinch to do some glue binding. I'm just going to trim this down to the size I need, and I held my ribbon up against this strip of glue, and I'm basically just cutting this down so that it's just wide enough to just as wide as the glue essentially. So this started at 1/2 inch and it probably got trimmed down to about 3/8 of an inch. But that ribbon is going to sort of dictate the size of, or at least the thickness of my notebook, because I am going to just fit however many sheets of paper I need to fill and spread across that entire glue strip. So the way that I start my binding is, this is just some copy paper. It's slightly thicker than super thin copy paper. It's my digital copy paper, but it's still text weight. It's 30-pound text weight. I put a fold in it, and then that's going to mark where I put my glue strip. So I'm just going to cut this glue strip to just under the height of my text block. So my text block measures 5 inches tall. Note that the cover is 5 1/4. So this is going to be slightly smaller than the cover. So this is a notebook where the cover is going to be a little bit larger. So unlike a paperback book, for example, where the cover, the pages, it's all one size, everything's flush. This is actually going to be, I guess, a little bit more like a hardcover book where the cover extends a little bit beyond the pages. So I glued my glue strip with just a little bit of double-sided adhesive, dry adhesive, and I have that glued right up against the score line, the fold that I put in. And then what I'm going to do is just fill this with notebook pages. So what you're going for is you want to get all of your notebook pages flush against that strip of glue. But you also want to try to get those pages so that it really fills out and covers the entire width of the glue as well. I did give my pages a bit of a fan just so that they're slightly separated, and hopefully that helps them to make better contact. But this is what you want in the end, everything to be nice and flush and nice and full. So once that looks like it's about the right number of pages, then I'm just going to trim down this text paper so that it's flush with my notebook pages. I didn't do that to start because the glue strip actually adds a little bit of thickness to the spine. And so the way that I approach my glue binding is I like to just do everything to fit. I don't really rely on too many exact measurements, because once you have the pages set and you know, that could actually adapt a little bit just depending on, especially since I'm having to manually cut down my glue strips, nothing's really going to be the same size. You know, so it's handmade, it's okay, it doesn't have to be exact. And so that's one of the reasons why I just do everything to fit. So the other thing I forgot to do when I started was to actually turn my cinch on. So we're going to have to wait for that to actually heat up. There's a rocker switch to turn it on, and then there's a button to actually start it warming up. And that light that's blinking, that's going to blink until it's sufficiently heated up and ready to actually do some binding. So you kind of have to give that some time, and you might want to start with that. It takes a few minutes to actually come up to temperature, and then you can actually do your binding. But while we're waiting for that to come to temperature, I will start to prep my other pieces. So I do want to add a pocket to this notebook. So I'm cutting this bit of gray cardstock to about 4 3/4 is what I was aiming for, but it doesn't really have to be super exact. I've tucked my my notebook in. Just want to make sure that it's touching the bottom, and then press the button again, and it's going to start blinking again. And when it's done, it will turn solid, but also it will beep. And so that way you know to kind of pay attention and take it out. So this bit of gray cardstock I've cut to 4.5 by, I think I was aiming for 4 3/4, but I think I overshot it a little bit. But that's okay. I did score 3/8 of an inch on the left, the bottom, and the right edges. Those will be glue tabs that will adhere this pocket into the front cover. So I mitered the corners, that way when these glue tabs fold over, you don't have a lot of overlapping cardstock in that corner. And I heard the beep, so I took my notebook out, and I like to give it a little bit of a press while the glue is still a little bit warm and melty, just to really push that glue into those pages. And then you can just set it aside to cool down, and that way as the glue hardens, it's going to essentially glue the pages together. So this pocket is meant to wrap around the inside of the front cover, but so I have it right now wrapped around my actual cover, but that's okay, it's not going to get glued there. I was just doing that to mark a couple of pencil marks where I can actually trim off, because I want this pocket to be a little bit tall so that you can slip some, you know, larger papers and receipts or whatnot into it. But if it's too tall, it makes it kind of hard to get into. So I'm cutting this angle or this slit so that there's a little bit of height to the pocket so that it can still hold things that are a little bit taller, but it's not so tall that it's hard to grab things out of it. And so you can still kind of get access to what you need. And at that top edge where I cut that angle, I am going to miter that glue tab, and at the top edge on the left side of the pocket, I'll miter cut that glue tab as well. And the reason to miter cut on top is so that when the glue tab folds over, it's less likely to be seen because the pocket will completely hide it. So now I have all of the pieces that I need for my notebook, and it's just time to put everything together. So I've got two covers, your front cover and your back cover. Then I have two inside covers for the front and the back. This is a bit of black cardstock. This will be my spine. So I'm going to cut my spine to the same height as my cover. So that's 5 1/4. The width of it happens to be 4 1/4. That's just because this was actually a card A2 panel that I just had left over. And so that's what I was starting with. It can be anything because the way I am going to do my covers is a lot of this will actually be hidden. So I'm going to kind of figure out roughly the center, and I'm going to score 2 lines on either side of basically the spine. So that those first two score lines, they define where the spine or the thickness of the notebook will be. And then I score 2 additional lines that are 1/4 of an inch from the spine. And those 2 score lines will help the covers to open up more flat. So it'll look like this. So you'll have that little kind of like a little notch that goes, downwards and then back out. And that way you kind of have the ability to fold your covers front and back really wide open, and it'll help your notebook to lay a little bit more flat because this is just 80-pound cardstock. It's not super heavy weights, and it's only going to end up being 1 layer. Now I almost put this in, and then I realized I don't have my bookmark in yet. So here's how I'm going to attach my bookmark. I'm not exactly too sure how We Are Makers how they recommend to do it, because their videos, I haven't seen too many of their videos where they really show how to do this. I think they actually glue it to the back cover, but I'm gonna glue mine to the spine. And because we've already bound everything, it just needs to get glued to that outside edge of the spine, which is preferred. I don't want to glue it. I don't want to attach this bookmark to the inside where our glue strip was, because then it's going to prevent the glue from actually attaching to all of your pages. So this is the other reason why I like to bind my projects this way, so that you can actually attach your bookmark to the spine. And that looks a lot more like how a bookmark would get attached to, say, like a hardcover book. I think that's where it actually gets adhered on like a normal book. So I haven't looked too closely at the We Are Makers tutorials to see if they have one, but I think I caught a glimpse of one, and in theirs, I think from what I could see, it's attached to the back cover, but I'm not 100% sure on that. I like the look of this, so I think this is how I'll be making my notebooks that have bookmarks. So a little bit different to how I construct some of my previous notebooks was I am actually attaching the spine directly to those front pages of my text block. Because as I mentioned, I want to be able to see my front cover as much as possible. I don't want to cover any of that out at all. And so the order that we're going to glue things in will be a little bit different to how I've been making these notebooks previously, because previously the spine wrapped around the outside of these front covers, and in this case they are getting attached to the inside. So one of the challenging things that I had with this is that, for one, the bookmark was getting in the way, so I just wrapped that and tucked it back into the book. Second, because my cover is slightly larger than my notebook pages, I had to very carefully kind of position it so that none of the pages would be, especially since I have the rounded corners, that none of the pages would be visible outside of the cover. And I think I did a pretty okay job, but I think my front cover ended up getting a little bit crooked at some point. I'm not sure how or when that happened, but I think it's off, but not off by too much, so I can live with it. Now for the pocket, what I want to do is because these are glue tabs, I automatically think to put the adhesive on the back of them, which you can do because you could, if you wanted, you could glue this pocket to the front of your inside cover. And if you did that, you would actually have a roomier pocket because those glue tabs would act as a bit of spacing between the black cardstock that is the inside front cover. But what I'm actually going to do is wrap this around to the back and then glue these tabs to the back of this panel. Ultimately, what that's going to mean is that the pocket it's not going to be able to hold quite as much because now the front of the pocket, it's more flush against this black panel. So if you feel like you may want to add or put more things in this and you just want a little bit of extra space, you might want to glue the pocket to the front of this panel instead of wrapping those glue tabs to the back. The reason why I'm doing it this way is because with the glue tabs sandwiched in between this panel and the front cover, I feel like it's going to be more securely held in. Because in the other way of constructing this, it would just be on top of this panel, which if you're using a strong adhesive probably would be just fine. I don't think it would tear off or anything, but it's definitely going to be more secure sandwiched in between these two pieces. So that was what I was thinking of when I made that choice. But I think you could actually do it either way and it'll be just fine. Especially since this, well, the purposes I'm making this notebook for, I don't think it's going to be anything precious that somebody's going to want to keep forever and ever. So I'm totally fine if this just gets used and then gets tossed. It doesn't have to live on indefinitely. So I'm not really constructing this to last forever. And all I need to do now is attach the back cover. And I'm going to do the same thing, just try to line this up, but since my front cover is already in place, I am going to try to get that left edge, the outside edge, to be nice and flush with the front cover, and then try to get everything nice and straight at the top and bottom too. The black looks really nice, but I kind of like having the colorful version of these playing card decks on the front, but because it's a butter press plate, you can really press out whatever colors you'd like. And I did use cotton card for pressing, and it has a really nice texture, really nice feel to it. And plus that cotton card is pretty thick as well. I think it's the one that I have, I think is 110-pound cover weight, and then this black cardstock is another 100-pound. So I've got quite a lot of thickness going on with these two front and back covers. So it's going to feel pretty substantial, which is kind of nice because there's a lot of pages in this notebook. And the last thing that I'll do is you could leave your bookmark just as it is. I think it's just fine, without anything else. I somehow remember, and I could be remembering wrong, but I thought that maybe the ones by We Are Makers has some charms on them. I'm not sure if I'm remembering that correctly, but or where I saw that, but I like the idea of adding a little charm to the bottom of the bookmark. And so, plus I've got a ton of them. It's going to take me ages to use all of these up. And so I'm just going to find one that I think is kind of cute. And I actually found the perfect one on another notebook that I made. So I'll show you the second notebook that I made as well. I really love the charm that I had, and I was hoping that I would be able to find a second one, but unfortunately I couldn't find a second one that was the same. So I ended up picking out either a masquerade ball mask a peacock or an elephant. And I don't know why, but I went with the elephant. I think just because of the color, maybe. I'm not too sure, but I thought it was cute. And what I'm gonna do is I am going to add a little jump ring to the charm. So the charm has a little circle at the top, but that's teeny tiny. There's no way to really thread your ribbon through that, and it is meant for you to attach it to a jump ring, and then you can create whatever. If this is to go on a bracelet or a necklace, you would need the jump ring. And so what I'm going to do is I pulled the ribbon through the jump ring and sort of tried to position it so that it's definitely extends beyond the notebook, because you don't want the charm stuck inside the notebook. It's going to kind of make an indentation in your cover and your pages, so it needs to dangle and kind of hang outside the notebook. So that's what it looks like. I don't know if I should trim down the tail of the ribbon. I just double knotted it. So that's all I did. I looped it through the jump ring, and then I just tied a double knot. And I think that's just fine. It looks fine as is. I'm not too sure how else I can finish that to make it a little bit neater. But I did put fray check on the end. Oh, here's a little sneaky peek. Those little playing cards that I made to decorate the inside of the cover, those are from a different die set in the Jack of All Trades collection that I'm crafting with. So that's where this Better Press plate came from. And the collection is designed by JC Gasper, and it's available at Spellbinders. I'll leave links to everything in the description box below if you want to check out any of those products for yourself. Thanks for checking out my video today, and until next time, happy crafting and have a fabulous day. Bye.